Call this Altoona City Council meeting to order Monday, March 13th at 6 p.m. We'll now have a moment of silent prayer. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Linda, would you take the roll call, please?
Councilman Beatty. Councilman Butterball.
Here.
Councilman Carper. Councilman Ellis.
Here.
Vice Mayor Ickes.
Here.
Councilman Kelly.
Here.
Mayor Pacifico.
Here. We're going to move the agenda around a little bit this evening. We're going to start with public comment. If there's anybody here that would like to address council, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 5 minutes.
All right, let me get adjusted here. City Council, City staff, how's everybody doing? I'm here today to talk about garbage, trash, litter. I've been seeing a lot of it blowing around recently. I don't know if it's the weather's doing its thing, but it got me to thinking about hosting some kind of event to clean up trash around the city. And I put out a Facebook post and got some engagement from it. It seems like a lot of people would be very interested in this event. So right now I'm currently planning an event that I would like to call Red Up Altoona. In case your parents never said that to you about redding up the room. It would be a large-scale event. Currently, I'm projecting there would probably be about 100 volunteers, but it's possible that there could be close to 300. Currently, we are working with Keep PA Beautiful. We want to partner with them to hopefully provide volunteers with vests, gloves, bags, and as well as maybe seek some sponsors to be able to help provide those things. We would probably host the event in Heritage Plaza, or at least that's the plan, and then disperse from there, breaking into smaller teams, and then go into highlighted areas of the city and cleaning up garbage. While we have many things figured out, we have some questions, and I'm hoping that maybe the city and the city staff can help us with those. I'm here today to ask for the city's help. I would like to ask if there are any permits or any fees that would be associated with hosting such an event, that the city would be willing to aid us in filling out those permits or waiving any fees for those. We would need help with disposal of the collected garbage, and this is very important, and getting it to the proper landfill facilities. We'd like to know if the city would be willing to help with that as well. Finally, I really like the city and the staff's guidance on this, highlighting key areas of the city they think would really need the help and really need the trash picked up there. But we really, really need the help with the disposal. That's the big thing, is like if we can coordinate some way to get the trash set in certain areas strategically where then city could pick it up and then take it to a disposal area, that would be fantastic. And of course tonight, there are a lot of people here behind me. All these guys, they're great, they're fantastic. I can't speak for all of them. They might be here for different reasons. But they're here because, they believe in the great things that we can do in this community. They want to help make a change and make the area better around here, and inspire our community to follow suit. So it's just my ask that I want to know if the city would be willing to help us on these issues. And of course, I'm willing to answer any questions you might have at this time. Thank you guys again for taking the time to listen to me, and I appreciate it.
There's no permits or fees for scheduling a cleanup day. We have lots of churches actually in the area that do those throughout the year, so that wouldn't be an issue. And as far as cleaning up, that also shouldn't be an issue, because typically what we do is when groups do those cleanup days, they'll coordinate with Department of Public Works to kind of set out a spot where Public Works will pick up the bags, the trash that's cleaned up, so that shouldn't be an issue either.
Okay, so then it sounds like that. What would be my next steps then? Would I just want to reach out to Nate and Public Works?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I did send him an email. He didn't get back to me yet.
He's off this week, so.
Okay, a little vacation. All right. Well, then maybe that was just a mishap then. All right. Anything else?
No. Unless
right.
anybody else has anything.
If you start at Heritage Plaza, you have to reserve Heritage Plaza. So you want to call the city manager's office.
Okay, gotcha. All right, then. Thank you guys again for your time. And also, I do have project packets here. So if anybody did want to see the plan and stuff to execute that, I'm more than willing to give that to you. So
Okay. Do you have that in PDF?
I
that you
do. I
could
do. Yeah.
email? Could you
Yeah. So
email?
I can email it to you, Mayor Pacifico.
Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, there's also a lot of resource information on the Keep PA Beautiful website. And there's actually monies available for different efforts for cleaning up. And they look to do community cleanups with picking up trash, usually in the springtime. I don't know the dates off the top of my head, but that would also be a great website to have an event listed on.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman Kelly. I did mention that I am currently registered an event with them, and they're more than happy to help provide some of the logistical needs like the gloves, vests, etc. I guess the disposal is just the one thing they have to have us coordinate, so I came here to ask. But thank you again for your advice. I appreciate it.
There was one other thing. So we didn't do it last year, but the year before that, we did our Altoona Community Cleanup Day, and that's something that we're going to be planning again for this year, possibly even more than one. So if that's something that you and your team are interested in, you guys could always, come out that day as well, and then we could have either even greater strength in numbers out there cleaning up.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. Collective effort and collective action is a big part of making the community a better place. So yeah, definitely. Just keep us in the loop when you're planning to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Donald Bowers. I live down on Lloyd Street. I've been working for a local parking authority downtown. Many have seen me. Maybe you got a few tickets from me. I'm in my 17th year, and I've seen it get progressively worse and worse and worse. And I'm talking about the homeless situation. I can give you two names. A man right now, I just stopped down there. He's been sleeping all winter under the mail car at Heritage Plaza. Then, of course, everyone knows this Pamela Ott. She always camps out at the Water Palace on the wall, and then you'll see her in the evenings down at Lenny's Classic Car. That's where she lives. I don't know if they can force her, a court order to make her go somewhere, but she just seems to refuse. Those are just two. I've seen quite a few people, we're talking families with women and children. Sometimes I think when they break down on I-99, the state police, they bring them and drop them down by the transportation center, drop them off, thinking, oh, some agency will help them out. A friend of mine, we had took a family, a man and his wife, they broke down 2 summers ago, and their 2 children. We took them out to the one motel and paid for the weekend so that they had a place to stay. It's a serious problem. The city is being overwhelmed with bicycle Pete's, homeless Hannahs, backpack Billies, and talking about this one young man said about the trash. I personally have shoveled human waste the parking authority's stairwells about 5 or 6 times. They turn our stairwells into bathrooms. We've had complaints from people, especially women that go to work early in the morning. They're afraid of them. We actually have a security guard that comes in, I think 3 nights a week for like 4 hours each night to patrol that, but you can't watch it all the time. I was thinking of some ideas to try to help this situation because they don't need to be waiting on a list that's 2 years, a 2-year waiting list for housing, for help for housing. And that's the way it is now. They open up a new shelter and it's filled up before they even open the doors. It's a very serious problem. I think there was a case, a city, I think Chicago or somewhere, where they took a city bus and modified that and put a shower in there. And this possibly they could do something with an Amtrak bus, one of their day trippers. They are paid by the taxpayers. And I know we received, $39 million of federal pandemic money. If it isn't all spent, perhaps the city can come up with some money to help modify a bus that they could go maybe one day in Juniata, another day over on Lloyd Street, another day down at Heritage Plaza. For some of these homeless people to get themselves cleaned up, maybe some agencies could give clothing and food to them or speak to them. You know, at this very moment, I can tell you these two people are on the streets right now, homeless, and I've seen quite a few other ones. And it's a serious, serious problem. And they don't need to be waiting and waiting. This one guy under the mail car, he's been there all winter. They gave him sleeping bags and blankets. And I try to give him a few dollars. Other people do too. And then there's others who just walk the streets. And people that are sleeping couch surfing from one couch to another, or one friend's apartment to another. We're talking families. That's homelessness too. We don't track those people, but how many people are doing that? All I'm thinking is perhaps the city can take some of the pandemic money. We don't need any more playgrounds or Wade parks. These people need a roof over their head. And if there's anything the council or anyone in the city could, maybe they have some ideas, if they could help them, it would be appreciated.
Well, we did take a good portion of pandemic money for the new homeless shelter,
Well, the thing is,
which just opened, which we were hoping alleviates some of the issue.
they open these shelters and they're filled before the new one, they just open it and it's filled and people are on a 2-year waiting list before they even open the door, the thing's filled up. And that's a serious, serious problem. Nobody, I don't know if any
So
of you
you
have ever been
verified
homeless.
that? The brand new shelter that just opened is filled with a 2-year waiting list. You
I
verified
talked
that?
to this guy here. You can go down and talk to him. I just stopped down there. He wasn't there at the moment. You can speak to this Chef Adams. Everybody has a story, I'm sure. But he said that, that they would call him. It's been all winter. And this Pamela Ott, and I know a lot of people have seen her. I don't know, maybe she doesn't want to be helped. I talked to people that work at the Department of Public Welfare, and it seems like she doesn't want to be helped. It might be a judicial problem. Perhaps the courts could order her to go somewhere. But everyone remembers Ralph Cardine, and people, you want to bring people to the area. You want to say how nice. I grew up in Hollidaysburg, lived in Altoona since '84, but you want to say how nice the city is. Well, like this young man said, look at all the trash and human waste. This isn't San Francisco or Portland or Seattle. We don't need that kind of stuff. We have the money and we have enough people that can help these homeless people. And as far as cleanup goes, we personally, the Park Authority, we always empty the garbage cans at Heritage Plaza. I don't think that's our job, but we do it. Perhaps when the city, every Friday, when they empty the garbage cans, perhaps they can go in. That is a city park owned by everybody in the city of Altoona. Perhaps they can go in there and at least empty those garbage cans. Because we've been doing it. I've been doing it a lot, and some of our other workers have been doing it for years and years and years. The same with where they catch the city buses. Those cans, I think Amtram may be responsible for that, or the city, but they get overflowing all the time, and it blows all over the parking lot. That doesn't look good for people coming through the area. And human waste in our transportation center, I know that's definitely not a good sign for people coming through the area that maybe they're getting on the train or riding Greyhound or whatever. People don't want to see that. And people are actually scared to come to the parking garage in the mornings because of this homeless situation. Well, if there's anything you could do, I'm sure it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's no more public comment. We will close the floor and we'll move on to, I don't see Ashley. Is anybody here from the Western Pennsylvania Bleeding Disorders Foundation? No. Okay. So we will move on to the second presentation, a proclamation for National Autism Awareness Month, which is next month. But however, because we meet in the middle of next month, we decided to get that on the March agenda. Lindsay Martzoff is unable to join us, but accepting the proclamation on behalf of the Central Pennsylvania Autism Society will be Councilman Joe Carper. Whereas National Autism Awareness Month was first declared by the Autism Society in April of 1970, later sanctioned by the United Nations as World Autism Month to increase understanding of autism spectrum disorders, which encompass a broad range of communication, social skills, speech, and behavior challenges that affect an estimated 1 in 44 children in the United States. And whereas autism is a lifelong developmental disability with no single known cause, but research has shown that early intervention leads to positive outcomes later in life for people with autism spectrum disorders, requiring increased visibility and funding for early intervention efforts. And whereas this Awareness Month will focus on providing opportunities to increase understanding and acceptance of people with autism, fostering nationwide and worldwide support to create a world where people with autism spectrum disorders can reach their full potential. And whereas the Central Pennsylvania Autism Community, established in 2018, continues its mission to improve the well-being of children and families living with autism through social and community involvement, and continues to raise awareness of these disabilities. Now, therefore, I, Matthew Pacifico, Mayor of the City of Altoona, Pennsylvania, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2023 as National Autism Month in the City of Altoona, with sincere thanks for the commitment made by this organization and their volunteers.
So I won't speak long. I just very quickly, on behalf of Lindsay and the entire community, I just wanted to say thank you to the mayor. So autism is something that has touched my family for a long time. I have a half-sister who has autism spectrum disorder, and more recently my son was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. It is one of the best things that I've heard since starting our journey as parents of children with autism is that if you know one child with autism, you know just that, one child with autism. It is truly a spectrum disorder, and that's the best way to know it. I think it's super important that we touched on the idea of early intervention in the proclamation. We were fortunate enough to receive early intervention services for our son right after he turned 3. And I'm happy to say, and I'm trying not to get emotional here, he said his first word since he was about 16 months old. Thanks in no small part to the therapists and professionals that we've been working with. So, yep, I'm going to get emotional, so I'm going to stop and say thanks again to the mayor.
Okay, now we will move into our 2022 Codes and Inspections Department Annual Report from Rebecca Brown, Director.
For the year 2022, I'm sorry, our annual report. I'd first certainly want to recognize my staff. We have our building inspector, GIS, land use coordinator, our customer service specialists, and our 5 code enforcement officers. For most of the year last year, it's very important to note that we had about, typically we had 3 code officers last year for a majority of the year. We've recently hired 2 code officers, bringing our staff to 5. This just shows our training. Our building inspector has 14 certifications through the International Code Council and through the Department of Labor and Industry. Our code enforcement officers all must be certified as property maintenance and housing inspectors, and all of us actually have to obtain continuing education credits to maintain our certifications. This is just an overview of our department functions: permits and licenses, inspections, code enforcement, rental inspection program, land development, zoning, and GIS. It's quite a busy department, as you can see. The city's building inspector conducts residential plan reviews, residential and commercial building, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, and accessibility inspections, and issues certificates of occupancy. Everything's based on the 2018 codes, which were adopted in 2022 by the Commonwealth. Middle Department Inspection Agency handles our commercial plan reviews. The permits issued went down slightly from 2021. As you can see, the construction value, however, increased slightly by about $1 million. Permits by type, obviously building is always the largest number of all of the permits, coming in at 814. The next is the electrical with 321, and so forth. Our major commercial projects in the city in 2022, the new Greystone at $2 million, the UPMC Altoona CT unit, the Amazon warehouse renovation, the Dazzling Realty project in Juniata, a roof replacement at the school district, and Reliance Savings Bank new building. This shows the new Casabella under construction at 2523 8th Avenue. The Dazzling Realty in 521 North 4th Avenue. Construction is underway. The Reliance Bank rebuild. You can see what the former bank looked like, and now the new bank. It's a very nice building. The renovation, of course, of the Family Services Shelter, 2300 North Branch. The upper left-hand corner shows what the building previously was as Drennings, and the renovations that took place. You can see the exterior. Mile level physical therapy is quite a big difference. 1200 11th Street, the upper left-hand corner shows what that corner did look like, and of course the renovations to the exterior, and they also did interior work. These are some other commercial renovations: the Firehouse Subs, the tenant space in Logan Boulevard Plaza, the Applebee's, which was formerly Bob Evans, and the Daily Grind at 2525 6th Avenue, which was the Kentucky Fried Chicken building. This is our code enforcement process. This is just a flow of how the actions work, and it appears to be relatively simple, but with many violations, this isn't the case. Some cases get stuck in a holding pattern due to deceased owners, absentee owners, and properties tied up in litigation. And when a property transfers ownership, we are required to begin our enforcement process again. Some of our activity from 2000 to 2022, you can see that our citations issued went down slightly, which is never a bad thing, but it could be to only having 3 to sometimes 4 code officers for a majority of 2022. Our violations corrected did increase, which is always a good thing. Notices of violation increased, our re-inspections decreased, and our inspections increased. Our violations for 2022, we had 3,614 total violations found. Garbage always tops the list, garbage and accumulations at over 1,000. Vegetation and overgrowth, 944. Repairs come in next, and unregistered rental properties and unregistered vacant properties came in next. Out of those total violations, 58% were issued to non-owner occupied units, and 42% were issued to owner occupied units. This is an area of all of the active violations in the city. The red dots highlight the most concentrated areas, obviously, of where the violations are found. Summary citations and hearings. We attended 650 hearings in 2022. Code court's always the first Thursday of every month at our 2 magistrates. 2 or more guildies can proceed to misdemeanor charges at Blair County Court. Right now, we have over 400 active summary citations for noncompliance, and our solicitor for Code Court is Dan Stantz. Our nuisance abatement program, our mow and lien program was established in 2015, and our mow and lien is reserved for vacant, unoccupied, and abandoned property with or without a home. We had 102 mows in 2022. Our haul and lien is the same. This has to be actually an unresponsive owner. We had 24 hauls in 2022. On both a mow and a haul and lien, liens are filed for service. Blighted properties, we had 20 properties submitted for demolition. 20 properties that we submitted and 14 were demolished in 2022. These properties must be abandoned, deteriorating, unsafe. Some of them are the result of a fire, and they have to be in imminent danger to the public. I don't like to show too many of these pictures because it's not really what you want to see on a report. Our very large residential rental unit inspection program. Inspections are every 3 years, and they're based on the 2018 International Property Maintenance Code. We give 10 days for life safety violations for compliance. All other violations are given 45 days for compliance. We have a total of 3,584 rental properties in the city, making up 7,384 units. There's a lot of information on this slide. We have 1,227 rental property owners. 560 of those rental property owners reside in the city. We have 603 that are outside the city but live in Pennsylvania, and 64 that reside outside of the state. The rental property breakdown, you can see obviously most of our units are 1-unit buildings, which over 2,500. The next is our duplex, and then we have the 3-unit and the 4 or more unit, which mainly makes up the towers and some of the large college rentals. I'm sorry, sure. Correct. It shows the location of all of the rental properties in the city. It's really scattered. We don't have one certain area of the city that's exclusive to rental properties. Some, obviously, you can see a little more. There's a large cluster over there in the on the left side of the map. That would be the townhomes up by Highland Park. The rest of them obviously move towards the center of the city. Our rental inspections and violations. Our rental inspections were down in 2022 due to the low, due to our staffing in 2022. And you can see the comparison in inspections and re-inspections with the 2 years. So most of our violations are smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. We have a lot of repair issues that we identify, exterior and interior, a lot of electrical and plumbing issues, and of course accumulations. Our licenses and registrations went up slightly in 2022 from 2021, namely the mechanical amusement device registration. These are the skill machines that you see throughout the city. We're finding that more and more establishments are placing these kind of machines in their stores or in their restaurants. Our code officers inspect for those as well. We did have a significant increase in our vacant property registrations as well, and our foreclosed property registrations.
On those two, the foreclosed and the vacant, is that, and you would know, I mean, would this be an increase in the registrations, or do we have more foreclosed properties and more vacant properties?
It's an increase in the registration.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Sure. We have several boards that we staff here in the city. The Plumbing and Electrical Examiners Board. It's made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 members. We had 28 applications that were reviewed in 2022, and licensing and one-time permits are reviewed by this board. Our Code Appeals Board, they reviewed 4 applications in 2022. They meet on an as-needed basis, and these are appeals to the city's codes and ordinances. It's primarily to the building code and the property maintenance code, appeals to either one of those codes. Of course, the Altoona City Planning Commission reviews and approves subdivisions and land developments, blight determination. They assist in long-range planning efforts and land use planning, and they assist with the development of the comprehensive plan. 6 land developments and 15 subdivisions were conducted in 2022. Some of the largest land developments are listed. We had the Greystone, O'Reilly Auto Parts, the school district, Reliance Savings, Professional Housing Solutions, and A Better Address. And all of the addresses are shown for the land developments. Our LERTA program is new for 2023, but it was still in place in 2022. This infographic was just created to reflect the adoption of the new LERTA guidelines in 2023. I did include it on this report because it was still relevant in 2022. But the LERTA program encourages a revitalization and development, and about the property taxes increases can be phased over 5 years for qualifying properties. And this is conducted by the City of Altoona, Blair County, and the school district. Any property owner in the designated area, which is the entire city now, may apply at the time of obtaining a building permit. On to zoning. There are 11 zoning districts. Zoning regulates land use, building permits, business licenses, and zoning designations. Our enforcement for 2022, 47 notices of violation and 6 civil actions filed at the magistrate. Our notices of violation are generally well responded to with a very high compliance rate. Our zoning hearing board meets the second Wednesday of every month, and they had 27 appeals that they heard in 2022. 21 of those were approved and 6 were denied. On to student housing. We have 171 licensed student homes in the city currently. All student homes must apply for a special exception before the zoning hearing board, and they must meet the distance requirements that are set forth in the ordinance that regulates the student housing. I did show the 3 secondary schools that we do have in the city right now, but you can see that most of the student homes are towards the Penn State Altoona campus.
Rebecca,
Yes.
that 171 number I'm guessing is not included in the 1227 earlier.
It would be.
Oh, it is included?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
They have to be inspected as registered regular rentals.
Thanks.
Our geographic information systems is taken care of in our department as well. This is data management, mapping, and geographical analysis. Our GIS land use coordinator maintains our parcel database, which operates our BSNA software system in the city. She does obviously assist other city departments and the Blair County Assessment and their GIS department, and she conducts mapping and applications for this. Partners in our community that we provide assistance to and also help us: Operation Our Town Housing Roundtable Committee, Blair Senior Services, Blair County Children and Youth, Altoona Housing Authority, and Blair County Community Action Agency. Looking forward, I'd like to obviously keep our positive contact with our public and with our city residents through reminders, announcements, and bulletins on the city's website and our public access channel and our department Facebook page. Continue the proactive code enforcement approach with sweeps and notifications of city programs and services. Coordinate our citywide cleanup, as the mayor previously stated at the beginning of our meeting. and continued coordination and cooperation with other city departments. I can't thank the other city departments enough for the cooperation and the coordination weekly, sometimes daily, that we have with each other. It definitely helps us, and we try to help them as well. And this is our contact information. If anybody needs to contact us, this is how you can reach us. If anybody has any questions,
On LERTA, it's
Sure.
not just for new construction.
No.
Is it? Yeah, I mean, it also applies to improvements, renovations, or in addition to an existing,
that's correct. And
Okay.
that would be both a commercial and residential project.
okay.
And it's citywide.
And how does, if someone's doing improvements, how does that work for the application process?
So the application is in our department, and it can be completed at the time of the building permit application. That application must be completed, and we have to know the cost of the improvement. Once that's issued, a form needs filled out not only by the applicant, but then I finish the form with the city information that's required. We send that to the Blair County Assessment Office with a copy of the permit, and the the county assessment office takes it from there. And then they contact the applicant.
Okay, thank you.
Rebecca, what of the outstanding violations? You may not have this data available, but of the outstanding violations, you said there were over 700, if I remember from early on. You know, what's the relationship? I guess I'm just curious with folks who reside in the city of Altoona versus folks who reside outside the city of Altoona, as far as it being is the challenge more with out-of-town landlords, or
Are you talking property maintenance or rental violations? Property maintenance.
both?
I would have to say that we certainly have our difficulties with both. But I would say that out-of-town property owners pose a significant challenge.
Okay. I'm good if you have something.
Anybody else have anything for Rebecca?
Linda, will we get a copy of that PowerPoint? Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank
Great
you.
job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca. Nice job.
All right,
Thanks.
we'll move on to the resolutions now.
Item A is approving the minutes of the Altoona City Council meeting held Monday, February 13th, 2023. Item B is awarding the 7th Avenue and East Bellwood Avenue Drainage Improvements Project to Excavating Associates of Hindman in the amount of $322,445 payable from ARPA funds, and further authorizing the city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Item C is approving a project cost-sharing agreement with Logan Township for a Green Light Go project along Logan Boulevard from West Plank Road to Blair Street, with the city's portion, $50,731.96, to be paid from in-kind services or from the general fund or highway aid, and further authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement and the city clerk to attest to same. Item D is awarding the Garden Heights Neighborhood Stormwater Improvements project to Kita Quay Construction of Houstontown, PA, in the amount of $449,906 payable from ARPA funds, and further authorizing the city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Item E is awarding the 2023 ADA ramps project to M&B Services of Clarion in the amount of $139,079.86 payable from ARPA funds, and further authorizing the city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Item F is approving an agreement between the City of Altoona Police Department and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Office of Attorney General, Bureau of Narcotics Investigation and Drug Control, and further authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement. Item G is adopting the 2021 HUD Home Investment Partnership Program American Rescue Plan as an amendment to the 2021 Home Annual Plan, and further authorizing the mayor to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Item H is approving a repository bid in the amount of $100 submitted by Lunar Eclipse of Philadelphia, PA, for property located at 1926 12th Avenue, and further authorizing the city manager to execute the taxing district form. Item I is approving a repository bid in the amount of $100 submitted by Lunar Eclipse of Philadelphia for property located at 1900 to 02 10th Street, and further authorizing the city manager to execute the taxing district form. Item J is approving a repository bid in the amount of $100 submitted by Lunar Eclipse of Philadelphia for property located at 2409 Oak Avenue, and further authorizing the city manager to execute the taxing district form. Item K is approving a repository bid in the amount of $251 submitted by Cheap Lands of Homosassa Springs, Florida, for property located at 3127 to 33 7th Avenue, and further authorizing the city manager to execute the taxing district form. Item L is approving the use of Goodman Trust funds in the amount of $10,270.65 for Prospect Pool. Is there anything that needs to be pulled for a separate vote?
Yeah, H, I, J, and K.
I'd like G pulled, please.
I'm going to call for a consent vote on items A through F and L. First. Councilman Beatty,
Yes.
Councilman Butterbaugh,
Yes.
Councilman Carper,
Yes.
Councilman Ellis,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ickes,
Yes.
Councilman Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Pacifico.
Yes.
And the consent vote passes 7-0. And I will now call for the votes separately.
I have a
Linda,
question.
which one are we doing now? G?
I will, yeah, I'll do G first.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking.
G is adopting the 2021 HUD Home Investment Partnership Program American Rescue Plan as an amendment to the 2021 Home Annual Plan, and further authorizing the mayor to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. I'll call for the vote. Councilman Beatty,
Yes.
Councilman Butterbaugh,
Yes.
Councilman Carper,
Yes.
Councilman Ellis,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ickes,
No.
Councilman Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Pacifico.
Yes.
The vote passes 6-1. We will take the vote now on item H. I'm sorry, I need to move my screen up in case you're following.
Yeah, and the reason I pulled these like I always do, when you have folks without an in-town contact or without an in-town person to manage the properties, what happens is when there's problems or when there's a continuation of blight, it's typically land speculation. And so it ends up getting boomeranged back into the system, and we end up spending extra time without being able to sell the properties to somebody that would actually pay the taxes and do the upkeep and things of that nature. And so since we started doing this, one unquantifiable number that is the blight that we have prevented. And so this has helped us in prevention of blight.
When are you able to do a consent vote for HIJK?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, item H, approving a repository bid in the amount of $100 submitted by Lunar Eclipse of Philadelphia for property located at 1926 12th Avenue, and further authorizing the city manager to execute the taxing district form. I'll call for the vote. Councilman Beatty,
No.
Councilman Butterbaugh,
No.
Councilman Carper,
No.
Councilman Ellis,
No.
Vice Mayor Ickes,
No.
Councilman Kelly,
No.
Mayor Pacifico.
No.
The vote does not pass by 0-7. And then on item I, approving a repository bid in the amount of $100 submitted by Lunar Eclipse of Philadelphia for property located at 1900 to 02 10th Street, and further authorizing the city manager to execute the taxing district form. I'll call for the vote. Councilman Beatty,
No.
Councilman Butterbaugh,
No.
Councilman Carper,
No.
Councilman Ellis,
No.
Councilman Ickes,
No.
Councilman Kelly,
No.
Mayor Pacifico.
No.
The vote does not pass by 0-7. And we have item J, approving a repository bid in the amount of $100 submitted by Lunar Eclipse of Philadelphia for property located at 2409 Oak Avenue, and further authorizing the city manager to execute the taxing district form. I'll call for the vote. Councilman Beatty,
No.
Councilman Butterbaugh,
No.
Councilman Carper,
No.
Councilman Ellis,
No.
Vice Mayor Ickes,
No.
Councilman Kelly,
No.
Mayor Pacifico.
No.
The vote does not pass by a vote of 0-7. And we have item K, which is approving, hold on one second, I need a form here. Approving a repository bid in the amount of $251 submitted by Cheap Lands of Homosassa Springs, Florida, sorry if I say that wrong, for property located at 3127 30th to 33 7th Avenue, and further authorizing the city manager to execute the taxing district form. I'll call for the vote. Councilman Beatty,
No.
Councilman Butterbaugh,
No.
Councilman Carper,
No.
Councilman Ellis,
No.
Vice Mayor Ickes,
No.
Councilman Kelly,
No.
Mayor Pacifico.
No.
The vote does not pass by a vote of 0-7. We have one ordinance for introduction. It's an ordinance of the City of Altoona, Blair County, Pennsylvania, which authorizes the acceptance of a conveyance of real property from the Blair County Solid Waste Authority to the Intermunicipal Relations Committee, a council of governments of which the City of Altoona is a member, and further authorizes the mayor, city manager, and city clerk to execute any and all documents associated with such acceptance of this conveyance. Is there a motion, is there a councilman willing to introduce this ordinance?
So moved.
This ordinance was introduced by Councilman Butterbaugh. We have two ordinances for adoption. The first one was introduced by Mayor Pacifico, and it's an ordinance of the City of Altoona, Blair County, Pennsylvania, authorizing execution of a cable franchise agreement between the City of Altoona and Comcast of Colorado, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, LLC. Is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
This ordinance was moved for adoption by Mayor Pacifico and seconded by Councilman Carper. I'll call for the vote. Councilman Beatty?
Yes.
Councilman Butterbaugh?
Yes.
Councilman Carper?
Yes.
Councilman Ellis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ickes?
Yes.
Councilman Kelly?
Yes.
Mayor Pacifico?
Yes.
And the vote passes 7-0. The second ordinance for adoption was introduced by Councilman Ellis. It's an ordinance of the City of Altoona, Blair County, Pennsylvania, which amends Chapter 640, Subdivision of Land and Land Development, Article 1, Subdivisions and Land Development, generally Section 640-2 of the Altoona City Code, to permit the mayor and members of City Council to concurrently serve as members of the Altoona City Planning Commission, and to reaffirm the remainder of Chapter 640. Is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
This ordinance was moved for adoption by Councilman Ellis and seconded by Councilman Beatty. And I'll call for the vote. Councilman Beatty,
Yes.
Councilman Butterbaugh,
Yes.
Councilman Carper,
Yes.
Councilman Ellis,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ickes,
Yes.
Councilman Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Pacifico,
Yes.
and the vote passes 7-0. Now we have an ordinance upon the adoption of ordinance, a resolution as upon the adoption of ordinance 3, which is appointing Jesse Ickes to the Altoona City Planning Commission for a term of 4 years. Said term shall expire the first Monday of January 2027.
Question. Do we have to open public comment just for the sake of doing this properly? Because it technically wasn't on the agenda until the ordinance passed?
It was advertised, though.
Yeah, it was advertised, but
We'll reopen the floor for public comment. Specific to the
item M.
item M. All right, we'll close the floor for public comment.
Okay, I'll call for the vote on item M. Councilman Beatty,
Yes.
Councilman Butterbaugh,
Yes.
Councilman Carper,
Yes.
Councilman Ellis,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ickes,
Sure.
Councilman Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Pacifico. The vote passes 7-0.
All right, we'll move on to city manager updates. Omar?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and council members, just a couple items to let you know about. In response to the RFP that the city issued for consultative services to put together the city's new comprehensive plan, we received 4 proposals from consultant firms. There's consideration of those firms right now among the subcommittee that has been tasked with that review. From that review will follow interviews that will take place next week of the selected candidate firm or firms. The finance director and I have been working to finalize preliminarily the 2022 year end. I say preliminarily because obviously it would be unaudited. We're going to be providing information to council on some of the highlights of what happened last year. And from that will be the basis for what we're going to do in terms of a longer term, like 5-year projection of our finances. So the first real big step is to just get that preliminary number for last year. And then the last thing I wanted to let you know is that we did finalize something I mentioned here before, which is the flow chart that provides an overview of the development process for those in the community that are interested in development or redevelopment within the city. That will be available, if it's not already, on the city's website very soon, probably this week. That's all I have.
Thank you, Omar. We'll move on to council discussion items. Councilman Kelly?
Nothing to add, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilman Carper?
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. I will try to keep this brief, and I hope you'll accept my apology for getting emotional earlier. But there were
don't
a
have
few
to
things.
apologize.
There were a few things that I wanted to say that I got choked up and couldn't say in regards to the Autism Awareness and Acceptance proclamation this evening. Just to throw this out there, I just want everybody to realize that the statistics surrounding that. The CDC estimated in 2021 that 1 in 44 American children will be diagnosed with autism. That includes 1 in 116 girls, and 1 in 27 male children will be diagnosed with autism. Unfortunately, most children are diagnosed after the age of 4, but detection today is reliable all the way as early as age 2. And we know from study that early detection is the single best thing that can happen for children with autism. Early intervention services are available. Unfortunately, they're not as available as we would like to see in rural central Pennsylvania. And that's probably one of the most important things, one of the most important reasons to have the proclamation that we had tonight, to bring attention to the fact that the resources are just not there to provide for the number of children that are diagnosed. My wife and I were fortunate to be connected with early intervention services, like I said earlier, starting at the age of 3 for our son, and that has made a world of difference. The way that autism manifested in him was a sudden regression of developmental ability. He accrued words in a neurotypical way until the age of 16 months. And then it's kind of just like a light switch shut off, and he lost everything. So, like I said earlier, we've been working with therapists, many therapists. He had a developmental appointment in Pittsburgh today. And that's the unfortunate reality for parents in this area who have a diagnosis, that most of the services available are not anywhere near their homes. So my son will he does have local therapists, but every 6 months he goes to an appointment in Pittsburgh at the Children's Development Unit, which is amazing. And I can't speak highly enough. But it's like I said, that's just not feasible for a lot of people. And we know that while autism affects all ethnic and socioeconomic groups, minority groups tend to be diagnosed later and less frequently, which is a huge problem in and of itself. Bringing awareness is a huge part of this, but bringing acceptance is also a huge part of this. It might not shock everybody to know that, you know, my family gets looks when my son has a meltdown in public. There's a huge stigma around children with developmental disabilities in general, and specifically autism spectrum disorder. Be kind. That's the easiest way to say it. There's nothing he can do about it. That's the way that he expresses his emotion. Imagine feeling every feeling in the world all at the same time, and that's how children with autism feel in any given circumstance. Any single stimulus can set off just this whirlwind of sensory, the whirlwind of senses. So they're feeling everything. They're hypersensitive to what they're hearing. They're hypersensitive to what they're tasting. They're hypersensitive to what they're seeing. And all of those stimuli hit at the exact same time, and it creates a situation that is completely unbearable in a lot of circumstances. So when you see a child with autism have a meltdown in public, ask yourself if it's any of your business, number one. And number two, just be kind. Like that's pretty much where that ends. Because autism spectrum disorder is something that my son and everybody who's diagnosed with autism will live with for their entire life. And therapy can make it easier, and therapy can make it better, but it doesn't make them any less than every other child, and it doesn't make them any less deserving of any way that you would treat any neurotypical child. So that's all I have. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Butterball.
Well, I didn't have anything till Councilman Carper said that, and that I would like to see that change as far as having to travel so far. And one of the things some doctors and practices are doing now is scheduling a doctor maybe in Pittsburgh one day and Altoona one day and somewhere, you know, and perhaps we could work with UPMC or work with somebody in the medical field to see if we can't get an allotment of a day or two a week where we can get the proper treatment for these young folks so that it wouldn't, you know, disrupt families that would have a very difficult time doing this traveling. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Akis.
Thank you, Mayor. Omar, thank you for the report on the flow chart. I think you, as well as Rebecca, know that I'm very excited for simplicity to be put on one page for these new opportunities coming into the city. So thank you for that. I did want to touch base on a public comment that we heard this evening about the 2-year wait at the homeless shelter through Family Services. So I'm on Family Services board. That is not accurate. Just to be clear, there's not a 2-year wait for someone to get into the Family Services shelter. I'm also on the board of Community Action Agency with Councilman Ellis, and homelessness is definitely it's noticeable in Blair County. That won't be disputed. Some folks ultimately end up denying services and any type of treatment. We hear that at almost every meeting that we attend. But I just did want to clarify that there's definitely not a 2-year wait at the family shelter. And lastly, Councilman Carper, I specifically remember the evening that you had told me about your son Jack being diagnosed. And I said this then, and I mean it even more so today, that your son Jack and all of your kids are incredibly fortunate to have you and Shannon as parents. Thank you.
Thank you. To follow up on Councilman Ickes's comments regarding the homelessness, probably several times a month, one of us or all of us get calls about homeless people at different parts of the city, and with Councilman Ickes and I on the Blair County Community Action Board, we have a tremendous resource, and we make calls, or we usually siphons down to the mayor making calls to to Blair County Community Action Office, and they get people out there and deal with that on a pretty effective basis. I mean, this is it's an issue that our community faces, and we have to deal with it. But when we were made aware of something going on, I think the system's working pretty well to get them identified. The problem seems to be, though, a lot of these people just don't want to accept the assistance that's being provided to them. So, thank you.
Councilman Beatty?
I'd like to give an update on Prospect Pool. We meet monthly as a committee to finalize the opening of Prospect, and any businesses that would like to help, whether it be product or in-kind services, we would deeply appreciate. We have meetings this week that we'd like to start solidifying how Prospect's going to operate this summer, and we're excited to get it open. And Rebecca, thanks for your good work. You run a tough department.
Questions from the media? Bill?
Thank you. I guess start with the end there. Ron, how should a business get in touch with the committee to?
Contact Omar's office, the city manager's office. We've had a good level of support from local businesses, but I'd like to open it up. You know, we've made some contacts and asked for some help, but you know, if people have something to offer in the way of in-kind services or whatever, it would be very helpful.
What will the money from the Goodman Trust, the $10,000, be used for?
We have to upgrade some equipment up there as far as chemical placement into the pool. It's always been done manually, and we have to put automated systems in that are safe to have the pool inspected to get it open.
You mean that's a requirement now?
That's what we're hearing from the inspector.
You mean for safety's sake?
Yeah.
Okay. You mean like for chlorine, things like that?
Yeah. In past years, it was tested and put in bulk. Because we add so much water to the pool a day, it would be safer to have it done automatically, and the equipment that we're looking at will meter it as needed instead of being a bulk placement of chemical.
Is it definite that Prospect's going to open this year?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it will be strictly under city operation as opposed to the rec commission?
Yes.
And that's a quote, Bill. Oh, yeah.
we put a lot of work into it, and we're looking forward to opening day. We'd like to have food trucks. We'd like to have an opening festival. You know, invite the community to see what Prospect's all about. And we've just had, I would say, a tremendous amount of support, you know, from local people who swam there, you know, spent many years there themselves. And we'd like to have adult swims. We'd like to have meets up there for the school district, swimming classes, you know, make
You
it
say
a
it's
real,
like swim meets up there?
yes,
Okay. And swimming classes too?
yeah.
Okay. Any other special things that you're planning?
Like I said, the opening event will be Memorial Day, or Memorial Day weekend. And like I said, we'd like to have food trucks and a DJ and, you know, make it a community gathering.
Bill, we'd like to put you in a dunk tank if you'll allow us.
No way.
We'll put warm water in.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, thanks. Joe, what is the agreement between the APD and the state Attorney General's office?
The Attorney General's office is just kind of cleaning up some paperwork. It's the same agreement. I don't want to say identical. I'm sure there's some various language, but it's almost identical to the agreement that we've had in the last 30, 40 years. The one I looked at last was from 96 or something.
Oh, so it's no big.
It's
No.
nothing new. It's just what allows our officers to work with the Attorney General's office under the Drug Task Force.
Okay.
Not newsworthy.
Bill, it's something that's happening all over the state, so
Bill.
every municipality has to do that.
Alice.
So, yeah, it's something that's happening with every municipality around the state. This is just, kind of the city's version of that.
Okay. Let's see.
Did you want to say something?
No, I'm working.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I know you've commented when went around the horn there on what Don Bowers said about homelessness. Would anybody else care to comment on what Don said about homelessness?
I think a misconception is that the city doesn't care, and I don't think that's accurate. I think anytime we get a call, as Dave said, that, you know, we address it as soon as we get it, whether it's a safety issue or a cleaning issue or, you know, just getting them help. And we do the best we can at helping them, but if they deny the help, then that kind of creates an issue.
What makes it difficult? Homelessness, similar to blight, is a conditional issue stemming typically from a root problem. And so there's always a reason. And so to really solve the problem, you got to get to the, okay, why? Okay, so, and then we got to solve that problem. And so there's usually multi-layers, whether, you know, why is somebody homeless? How can we help them? You know, is it somebody that lost their job? Is it somebody who's, something happened, their home was damaged, or there's a plethora of ways it could happen. Same with blight. There's always a story behind, okay, why is there blight? Is there somebody that can't afford to repair their property, or did something happen to the homeowner? You know, a lot of times maybe the homeowner's up in years and just they're not able to keep up with the work anymore, things of that nature. And so that is what makes the issue more difficult, because it's not like, oh, if we fix the homelessness problem, then we're good. Well, no, we have to find the root cause. Or if we fix the blight problem, oh, we're good. Well, no, we have to find the root cause, and that can vary from family to family, property to property, and individual to individual.
Okay. Would anybody care to comment on the ARPA home funds that are going primarily to the Durban project that would create 6 low-income apartments for people who are threatened with homelessness?
What's your question?
Anybody want to comment on that? The I don't know what letter it was, one of the resolutions.
Right.
On
All right. It's a project that has money that's earmarked for that project. The property that they're looking at was purchased for the specific purpose of being to help homelessness.
Right.
And so to me, it seems like the stars and the moon and the sun are all lining up that this is the right thing to do at the right time, at the right place.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Bill, this kind of goes back to your prior question, and that is, from my standpoint, I think it's important to realize that homelessness isn't a problem that just happens someplace else. It happens here. And, you know, we want to try to address that and realize that, again, you know, Councilman Butterbaugh said that, you know, some of it is maybe transitional homelessness, whether it's a situation or something, but a lot of times with homelessness, these are issues that involve substance abuse, mental health issues, the ability to get to services that are needed, and to think that it doesn't exist here is really to stick your head in the sand. So
I commented earlier on the lack of services for children with developmental disabilities in central Pennsylvania, but there's a lack of services all across the board in rural central Pennsylvania. I mean, including for people experiencing homelessness. Homelessness is a nationwide problem. Every municipality faces it, to Councilman Kelly's point. I don't think that there's any end-all be-all solution to it. I think you can make incremental improvements to the homelessness issue the same that you can any other issue, and I think that what we did here tonight is an incremental step, to addressing it. It's not going to fix the problem, but anything that we can do within, the city's means, I think that it's something that should be done, I think.
Okay. And Jesse, I know you just were in the bathroom, but if I just asked for comments on the ARPA home funding that's going through the Durbin project primarily, and I know you voted no. Would you care to say why?
Yeah, I mean, over the past year or so, I mean, council has been pretty passionate about the needs to add housing stock or improve housing stock for middle market demands. And while we've made progress, we're still lagging that current demand, and I feel that this focus should be paramount when it comes to new housing opportunities in Altoona.
You mean to the middle market, market driven or market based, as opposed to, okay. Okay. Sorry. And I guess one more thing for Rob. For the East Bellwood Avenue project, the stormwater project, and for the Garden Heights stormwater project, can you kind of put that in the context of the effort to improve stormwater issues around here, I guess?
Yeah. The Garden Heights project is kind of a non-traditional stormwater project in that we're not taking a line, we're taking an area, and we're taking all the inlets that are in need of repair and replacing them, and also replacing pipe sections.
Replacing what?
Sections of pipe that
okay.
are deteriorated. So that will cover the whole Garden Heights area.
Okay.
The Bellwood Avenue project is trying to take water out of the combined sewer area that gets surcharged with water and backflows. So we're trying to redirect it into different pipes that are already existing.
You mean regular, just stormwater only pipes?
Correct, yes. We're hoping it alleviates some of the problems. We don't believe there's capacity to take the problems away completely, but we hope to make an impact on it.
And Bill, if you remember when we had public hearings, one of the things we heard loud and clear from people were the issues of stormwater.
Right.
And this is in response directly to some of those as we try to identify projects in neighborhoods where we can do something that we hope is going to have an impact and
Right.
try to address some of those situations.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yep.
Okay, and one other thing, Rob, what is, I don't remember Garden Heights being among, or Garden Heights residents being among those that came to those meetings. What was happening in Garden Heights that were, what kind of flooding was happening there?
So this is just a general repair of infrastructure that we hope to do in various areas of the city. So this is kind of a starting point. So our city public works crews have been working to clean out and identify bad stormwater inlets that are in need of repair. So they've actually been doing that throughout the city. It have kind of gave us a map of where we're going with it.
And historically, that's been an area, a low-lying area that has, for years, we've had problems with that, with hard rain and the fact that you have infiltration going into the sanitary sewer and trying to get that separated.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Is that all you have, Bill?
Yes, thanks.
Meeting is adjourned.